Well, welcome everyone to the First Lutheran Experimental Laboratory. Today we're going to be doing a theological science experiment. And I'm going to start with these two bottles right here. You'll notice that they don't have any labels on them, so you don't know exactly what they are. But we're going to do the same thing to both bottles and see what happens. And so we'll start with this little guy right here. And I'm just going to shake as hard as I can. And I might even drop it a little bit. Let's shake it again. Here we go. We're going to shake as hard as we can. All right, we got it? Now let's take a look and see what happens. Smells good. It's chocolate. Okay, let's try this one. Here we go. Shake hard as we can. Maybe we're going to drop it. There we go. Shake as hard as we can. All right. What's going to happen? Wow. Well, that just exploded. So, why is this a theological science experiment? Stay tuned and you'll find out. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to parents, godparents, grandparents, dogs, cats, whoever else is here, and especially to the confirmants. This is a great day. Is it 13 of us? Is that what it is? 13 confirmants? That's wonderful. And you know, Kay and Gary have done such a wonderful job, and really appreciate all the work that you've done with them, and all the work I know you're going to continue to do once these guys move into high school. Science experiment. Yeah, wasn't that fun? How does that relate to us? Okay. So this one here, no matter how much I shake it, nothing's going to happen. There's stuff in there, right? I can tell you what it is. It's muscle milk, all right? Because I like muscle milk. And it smells really good. And I can open it, close it, shake it again. And actually it gets a little better because then the junk on the bottom gets shaken up. So that's all right. This one, however, looks like an ordinary can of Pepsi, right? And it is. That's all it is. So I shake it up, right? And I shake it a little bit more. That's exactly right, Pete. You got it. And I shake it up a little more, right? And here. You got it? All right. Toss it back. So anybody want to open this? You do? Are you sure? You like a mess, don't you? Nobody wants to open this, right? Now, it looks like an ordinary can of Pepsi, just like every other can of Pepsi in the world, right? But you all know what's been happening on the inside, that what's going on in here is no longer just a little fizz. It has become so volatile that if you open it, it's going to spray everything in sight. Which is why I did that outside there on Friday, right? Rather than do it in here, okay? The more it gets shaken, the more volatile it becomes. But it just looks like an ordinary can of Pepsi. And you know, if someone came walking in the door right now and they hadn't seen this, right? And they hadn't seen this, and they hadn't seen this, and I offered it to them, they'd say, oh, that looks good. Poop, right? That's what happened. It's a lot like our lives. A lot like, oh, thank you very much, Pete. This is water. Pete takes good care of me. That's a lot like our lives. On the outside, we all look like this, all the same. Now, maybe some of us are Mountain Dew, maybe some are 7-Up, maybe some are root beer, which is my favorite, but we all look like this, and we all look pretty good on the outside. But what nobody seems to see is what's going on in the inside. And most of us, we look on the outside and we think it's going to be like this, right? You just open it up anytime because it's just good stuff in there. But what happens inside gets shaken up, and no one knows. It gets shaken up with things like wanting to fit in when you can't fit in. Gets shaken up with things like, you know, wanting to play football or basketball, or be on the show choir, or get a 1 in speech contest, or whatever it happens to be, but you know you're not good enough. Shake it up, right? It happens when you look around and everybody's got all their friends and you're all alone. Shake it up, right? And it happens when you go to school and everybody's getting good grades all around you, but that doesn't come easy for you. Shake it up again. And you know, some of it's just not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy enough, but it's other things as well, isn't it? Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's fear. Maybe someone's hurt you and you're quietly resentful. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's you've done something and you're ashamed of it. Maybe you're sinful and you're feeling guilty. And on it goes. And it looks just like every other can of pop. Every other person all around us. But what's inside is so volatile, and you are just ready to explode. I was first sort of put onto all of this by another group of teenagers. Okay? It was my last youth trip at St. Olaf, and we'd gone to Mexico to do some mission work. And I noticed we were sitting around at breakfast that morning. And I've told this story to some of you before, so if you've heard it, that's okay. Some of you haven't heard it. We were sitting around breakfast, and they've all got their headphones in, and they're looking at their phones, and I'm thinking, guys, just look up. There are other people right across from you. And there are people, and just put the phones down, and let's put them away all day long. And instead of going to the phones as the default, just get to know the person across from you, okay? Or just talk to somebody. And so we did that, and it had been a long, hot day. This was July in the Yucatan, okay? And I mean, it's just miserable, okay? And then the rain comes, and you think that's great, but then the sun comes out, and it's even more miserable because it's humid. And so after a long, hard day, we all got in the vans, and they said, Pastor Dave, would it be okay if we played some music? And I said, sure, yeah. You guys have been doing great and all that sort of thing. And they put on some stuff, and one of them was International Harvester, if you know that song. And then there was another, and then it was another. And then finally, they put on 21 Pilots and a song called Car Radio. Any of you know this song? Any of you guys listen to 21 Pilots? No? You need to start listening because this is good stuff. So 21 Pilots, the Car Radio, is about this guy who's sitting in his car. Oop, was that me? Nope, it was me. I'll try to do better. He's sitting in his car, and the radio in his car has been stolen. And so that means that he has to sit there in silence, and he's talking about this, and all he can do is listen to the voices in his head that are driving him crazy. It's this pop can being shaken and shaken and shaken some more, driving him crazy, and he has nothing to drown it out. And I heard this song, and it's kind of a rap thing, and I said, guys, play that again. And they said, Pastor Dave, really? I said, yeah, play it again. And I had them play it about 5 or 6 times. And then when we had study that night, I sat down with them. I said, is this how you feel? They said, yeah, that's why we listen to it. And I apologized to them because I didn't understand. I thought they were just tuning everybody out. What they were doing was tuning out the voices in their heads. Well, that put me on to 21 Pilots, and if you have kids, you should be listening to this because I think it's some of what they're listening to as well. There's another song that I just found recently, and I'm going to play a part of it. It's called Migraine. And once again, it's more of this shaking. Everything looks perfect, but inside it's a mess. Would you please? You can follow the words, by the way. It's not just 21 Pilots. And parents and grandparents, if you want to know what's inside your kids, ask them what's on their playlist. And listen to it yourself. Because this isn't the only group that's doing that. And by the way, for those of you who are my age, any of you ever heard of Queen? Have you ever listened to some of that stuff? Okay, Somebody to Love Me, right? Listen to the words. This is someone who is hurting and all alone, and it's all inside. And Bohemian Rhapsody, okay, if you don't know what some of those things mean, go look it up because you'll find out. And this is someone who is just completely lost. Probably one of the most popular and well-known pop songs of all time, Bohemian Rhapsody. And it's about the very same thing. Not the new under the sun here. So we all look like this. And everybody looks at everyone else in the world and they think they can all be opened like this, except them. and they know they can't open it because they know the volatile stuff inside. So they keep it to themselves. They hide it away, squirrel it away, and the pressure grows and grows and grows. And by the way, I'm speaking from personal experience. Let's sing. So the lesson that was just read today, thank you very much for reading the lesson. Lesson that was just read today is from 21st chapter of John, and you won't hear a sermon on this part of the lesson very often because most churches, they read like the whole story, which is all the way from 13 all the way to the end of 21. And guess what's after this story? Doubting Thomas. And every preacher on the face of the planet goes right there. And in fact, I went to go do some study on this part of the lesson. I found literally 134 articles on these passages, and all 4 of them talked about doubting Thomas. But I think this is way more important than doubting Thomas. Okay, so doubting Thomas is 7 days after the resurrection, from Sunday to Sunday. This part of the story happens on the evening of Easter. And the disciples they're locked away in a room, or using our metaphor, they're bottled up, right? And Jesus, who is raised from the dead, comes in behind those locked up, bottled up doors, that bottled up room called their lives, and he says, "Peace be with you. Father sent me, so I'm going to send you." And then he breathes on them the Holy Spirit. And he says, if you forgive the sins of any, they're forgiven. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained. Okay, that's the story basically. All right, so it's no mistake that it's here at this time in the story, in Jesus' story. It happens on Easter evening for a reason. Why? Because Easter evening, the disciples are just like this. They are all shaken up, and they're about ready to explode inside. Some of them are resentful, some of them are hurt, and they're all lost, and they're all afraid. Some of them are angry with the religious leaders of the time for engineering Jesus' death. Others are condemning Judas for turning Jesus in. Still others are probably judging Peter because at the right moment, at the wrong moment, Peter denies his Lord 3 times. And then there's Peter who has done this, and he's got to be ashamed. Shake, 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 right? That's what they're dealing with. And so Jesus comes and stands in the midst of them, behind those doors, behind those locked rooms, with whatever it is that's bottled up inside of those rooms, called their lives. And he says, "Peace be with you." And then essentially what he says, let it go. Let go of it. I'm died, I'm risen, it's a new creation, let it go. And you can almost hear what's going on in their heads. The response, the protest. That's the word I'm looking for, the protest. Let it go? Jesus, these people killed you. And they didn't just kill you. They publicly humiliated you. They bruised you with an inch of your life, then they hung you on a cross. Let that go? I don't think so. Or maybe it's fear. They're afraid because these authorities, these same ones that had Jesus lynched, they're afraid that they're going to be the next ones. Let that go? Worry? Let that go? Anybody try to let go of worry? Not easy. Anger? Oh, that's a tough one to let go. A really, really tough one to let go. All of these things. And the disciples just want to hold on to the old world the way it is. And who can blame them? Because we do exactly the same thing. Shake, shake, shake. Leave it in the can. Make it look good. But oh, what's inside? And so Jesus stands in the midst of them. And he says, peace be with you. I was sent by the Father, and now I'm going to send you. And he says, you got a choice here. Do you want to just live with the shaking? With all this stuff built up inside of you, all the hatred, all the resentment, all the fear, all the anger, all the worry, all the trials, all the troubles, all the heartache, all the shame, all the guilt. You want to live with that? Because that's what the old world does. But I was subjected to all of that, Jesus says. I was killed by that kind of sin. And I have now risen to a new life, and now I'm giving it to you. Peace be with you. Because Jesus says, there's another way. There's a better way. There's a way of hope and promise. And you have a share of the new creation, the new kingdom. Let it go. Someone has died on the cross for that stuff. Lay it here at Jesus' feet and know that he will take it. And the pressure will be released slowly. And it'll build up again, won't it? Slowly it's released. But over time, you learn that there's another way to live. The way of the resurrection life. The way of the new creation of Jesus Christ. Let's sing. Okay, there's an old joke that I shared with some of you on Wednesday night. You're going to have to endure it again. It's about bats in the sanctuary, in the church. And this church had all kinds of bats. They didn't know how to get rid of them. They tried a bat exterminator. They couldn't do that. And finally, the preacher said, I know how to get rid of bats. He walked in the middle of the sanctuary. He stood up. He held out his arms like this, and he said, I confirm you. And there was never another bat in the place. Sorry, you guys have heard it already. I apologize. Guys, don't be bats. You know what's in here. I do too. I mean, I can see it in your eyes because your eyes look like my eyes when I look in the mirror and see myself. This is the place where no matter where you go and no matter what you do, this is the place where you make sense of all of that. And yes, I want you to be the best musicians you can be, the best mathematicians you can be, the best athletes you can be, the best student you can possibly be. I want you to find a career and I want you to throw yourselves into it. I want you to have a family and to make that family the center of your life on this earth. I want all of that for you. But I can promise you that through all of that, this is going to happen. It's just the way of the world. And you have to find some way to release this. And you have to find some way to make sense of it all. And that happens here, in a sanctuary, where we worship the God who died for all of that stuff that's inside of here, so that you may live free. And for that we give God thanks and praise. Amen.